Broadcasting from Studio 202 at the Springett Technology Center in Navasota, Texas. It's NOV Live. Now, here's your host, Michael Gaines.
Hello and welcome to NOV Live. I am Michael Gaines and glad you're joining us today as we continue our ongoing conversation, bringing you technologies and technical experts from around the world talking about solutions and technologies that are impacting and shaping the energy world. So glad you're joining us as we talk about wellbore conditioning today and have our guest, Matt Jennings, walk us through a little bit of history in this space and talk about some recent developments and some field performances that we've had with this technology. So look forward to talking through that. So before we get to Matt and dive into that conversation, want to head over to Shelby Dumaine to talk about how our guests can be a part of the conversation. Always like having them, and certainly great to see you, Shelby.
Great to see you as well, Michael. We had a fantastic conversation this morning on our earlier show, Inside Out Horizons, and I'm so excited to have an equally as amazing conversation today here on NOV Live. So thank you to everyone for tuning in today. I really appreciate you watching and taking some time out of your day to learn a little bit about technology within NOV. If you are watching and would like to get involved in the show, there is a couple ways you can do that. The easiest way is by commenting down below. So whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, wherever you're watching this, if you have any questions for Matt or even for Michael, I love to put him in the hot seat, you can comment those questions in the comment section. So just type them in, press enter, and you're good to go, and we will get to as many questions at the end during the live Q&A as we can. I also invite you, I love to see where in the world you're watching. So in our earlier show, I saw people from Italy, I saw Saudi Arabia, Texas, of course. Love seeing fellow Texans out there. But I just love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. So I would love to see, let me know where you're watching. And if later on, if you watch any past episodes or you want to check out any of those, you can do that at nov.com/live. That's where you can see all of our past episodes, all of the great guests and the many topics we've talked about. And if you have a question on any of those past shows that aren't currently live, then you can email those questions to us at socialmedia@nov.com. I know I threw a lot at you there, folks, but all you need to know for today is to comment your questions below, and we will do that live Q&A at the end. And those are all the different ways that you can ask us your question. But now it is the time of the show where I ask you my question. It's time for Rig Geek Post of the Week.
Rig Geek's Post of the Week.
All right, and this week's question is nice and on topic. So as Michael mentioned, we're going to be talking about wellbore conditioning. And so our question is about the Dog Leg Reamer. If you're familiar with it, we're asking, when was the prototype for the Dog Leg Reamer designed? If you're familiar with the product, this maybe will be an easy one for you. If not, I invite you to just take a guess. What year do you think the Dog Leg Reamer prototype was designed? Go ahead and type and comment your answers, what you think it is, and we will reveal the answer at the end of the show. So I will see you back at the end.
All right. Thanks, Shelby.
Thanks.
Okay, so we are going to now dive into our conversation, again, have the opportunity to speak with Matt Jennings, who is the Drill Bit Product Line Director in NOV here and the Reed Hycalog team, and certainly sporting that great Reed hat. I'm a little bit partial to the drill bit world, kind of starting out there myself, so really glad to have you with us, Matt. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are going to be talking about some concepts and technologies and topics that I think are really interesting, and I know that our viewers will find interesting as well. And really maybe just want to set the table talking about wellbore conditioning and really help maybe expand and share on that concept. So for those that aren't familiar, what is wellbore conditioning? And why is that an important element in the process?
So when you talk about reaming, most people go towards bi-center drill bits or under reamers, which is something Reed Hycalog has a lot of experience in, especially when you talk about our under reamer group. But that's very intentional, right? You're expanding the borehole for a myriad of reasons, swelling formations, ECD control, uh, outside of just normal drilling practices. And that you usually over the last, 10 years, the drilling time has become so much quicker that we're no longer drilling wells in months, we're drilling wells in days. When you drill wells in months, just by the nature of the drilling, you end up with extra trips, which clean the hole, condition the hole, just because BHAs weren't lasting as long. And now that we're drilling wells in a matter of days, you're not getting those extra BHAs, so you're not conditioning the hole. And what you're seeing is operators are having to do dedicated cleanout runs. They're having to back ream for extended periods of time. And when they do that, you're losing life on your drill bits, your motors, your MWDs. You're losing casing efficiency. Sometimes you're not getting casing to bottom. And then at the end of it, when you're going to do completion operations, you're losing efficiency in your cement jobs or even your fracking equipment. So that's how this has become more of an issue as drilling has become more efficient. It's now a topic, and that's what NOV is trying to address with these wellbore conditioning tools or the Dog Leg Reamer.
So, when we're looking at the Dog Leg Reamer, I know that, that was a lot of the initial foray into the space that the team was able to really work on and deploy in the field. So I'm curious to know, how, when you're looking at the Dog Leg Reamer, or at least the initial solutions there, how does that differ when looking at some of the next generation iterations that you and the team have been able to produce?
And so initially the Dog Leg Reamer was, how do we take our expertise in eccentric drilling tools, bi-center bits, and apply that to a different space. And we took an eccentric reamer, which varied from the reamers of the time, which is essentially a watermelon reamer or a concentric reamer that was used for wiper trips, and tried to figure out how we could be more efficient. And we did that by, our pass-through was a little undersized, but then we're cutting larger diameter holes, so we're knocking out ledges. And we also took our expertise in BHA design and vibration and developed a placement software to make sure that we're reaming at the right space, at the right ROP. And when you talk about what we're doing next, we've been able to improve the design. It's now one piece. The blades are now not getting hung up in curves. We're reducing torque. And maybe most importantly, the cutters that we're able to place always match the application because of our outstanding cutter team. And that allows us to do things regionally to hit operators' needs at their level, what they're working on, what their challenges are, because it's not one size fit all. Whether it's helping with ECD, which is a normal, hole enlargement function we can do now with a simpler tool, or making sure that, people in West Texas, when they're combining hole sections like laterals, they're getting the most out of each run every time.
So if you have just joined us, we are talking with Matt Jennings, the drill bit product line director, and we're talking about wellbore conditioning and specifically focusing on some of the reamer technologies and solutions that the team has developed. So if you have a question for Matt that you would like to pose to him, feel free to put that into the comment section, whether you're watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, and we will try to get to those in just a couple minutes when we get to our question and answer section here on the show. So Matt, one of the great things about this technology is, of course, it started out as an idea. We're able to, develop some prototypes, and now we've got it out in the field, and it's running, and certainly have some what did I say, field-based proof here. So could you talk maybe a little bit about some of the success you've had with some of the new design and what that's looked like?
For sure. A shout out to our Middle Eastern team, specifically in Saudi Arabia. They were the first to really adopt this next generation tool with the improvements that we've had, and it's shown. They've got operators saving upwards of 9 hours in terms of reaming and completions work So that's a picture of the Falcon Reamer, which was developed in the Middle East to begin with. It's got improved cutting structure. The blades design allows for better gauge protection. They're getting cutting beds turned up out in long reach laterals, and it's improving wells really across the region. The next big success was a little more out of the box and really leveraged our regional design team in the Gulf of Thailand, where the challenge was going into a depleted field that had issues with ECD. And normally you talk about an ECD, you're running a complex under reamer. So under reamer is the reed hike log tool, which is a phenomenal tool. It's dependable, it does the job. But we could do it with a Dog Leg Reamer, essentially, where our regional design team built a tool that cuts an extra diameter instead of the 16th. It's cutting almost a half-inch larger. They can run a hole in the BHA, and it allowed them to get that lower ECD without taking on any extra risk or longer, larger tools, so they're able to get the directional requirements that they need and save a little bit of money for the operator rerunning tools. And that was all based out of our local design team there in Thailand, saw the problem, met with the customer, and was able to come up with a solution. And then domestically, we're talking about West Texas specifically, running tools where we're improving weight transfer, stability, and bit life. But then at the end, when you talk about getting casing to bottom, it's much more efficient. We're improving the amount of time it takes to get it done, not struggling to get to bottom, and not having to run an extra cleanout run to get those benefits. It's all happening just by putting this tool in the BHA at low risk, low cost to help, big time gains across all functions, drilling and completions.
No, that's great. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And yeah, it sounds, to your point, like a lot of those benefits and early learnings from, the previous generation. Of course, you roll that in, but then taking a step change and really incorporating those new designs and insights into these latest performances. So that looks good.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really Reed Hike Log's bread and butter, right? It's identifying customer requirements and how can we apply our knowledge of design and cutter technology in unique ways to help get there.
Great. Well, tell you what, I want to see if we can pivot on over to Shelby to see if we have any questions for Matt on wellbore conditioning and some reamer technology.
Yeah, we do. Actually, our first couple questions are going to be on compatibility. So are there any drill bit combination requirements? Can different drill bits go with the reamer? How does that go?
Absolutely. So the compatibility, essentially you can run this reamer with any bit that you're currently running. Obviously, we prefer you to run a Reed Hike Log bit. If you run a Reed Hike Log bit, it goes into our placement program, and we can match ROP expectations with the placement to make sure the reamer is getting the exact cutting path that it needs to get, that the whole system is as stable as we can make it. But in terms of you can run it with any bit you're currently running.
And then kind of on a similar line is that what is there anything required for proper placement, or how do you place the reamers?
And so at a minimum, we need to know what your VHA is and the trajectory and how the reach of the lateral or the well in general. And that gets us started. If you have formation details, that adds to the model. It just makes it more complete.
Excellent, thank you. And I know you mentioned some of the places where we have run these, like Thailand. Are there any launches maybe in other regions, or is this compatible in other regions?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of tracker success in the Middle East. We're building some in Asia Pacific, especially that Thailand tool. The U.S. We're going to launch the Pursuit Reamer to go with the Pursuit line of drill bits, as well as following up with a specific tool for Latin America. Is all coming down the pipe. That's not to say that if you're drilling in any other region, we talk about Canada in a shale play, this tool will work just as well there as anywhere else, and will help design and make it more optimized for your application wherever you are.
Excellent. I know I kind of rapid fired those questions at you, so I appreciate you answering those for our audience. And I wanted to let our audience know if you do have any other questions, you can go ahead and comment them, and we will get Matt in the comments, or we'll get someone in the comments who can help answer those. Or if you think about it later, and maybe it's been a couple of days, you can also always email us at socialmedia@nov.com. And we will be happy to answer any kind of lingering questions that you have there. And before I give it back to Michael, I do want to reveal that Rig Geek Post of the Week answer. So I'll do the question one more time. I asked you, in what year was the prototype for the Dog Leg Reamer designed? And I did see some good guesses. I think Larry got it closest with 2010, but the answer is 2012. So thank you so much for playing this week, and I look forward to next week's show, next week's Rig Geek question.
2012, man.
That's right, 2012.
Seems like it was just yesterday. I remember the days of 2012. Good times.
Yes, good times.
All right, great. Well, thanks, Shelby. And thank you, Matt, for joining us today. For those that like to let their fingers do the walking, where can folks go to find a little more info on the Reamer options that we have?
And if you just go to the NOV website, click the search bar and type in Reamer, it'll get you there. It's based on our LinkedIn page. You can get there from there. Or just talk to your local Reed Hike Log representative. They'll be able to hook you up.
That's right. And maybe they'll be able to get one of those cool hats too. I don't know.
And we got them.
All right.
Get a hat.
All right. Well, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. And again, special thanks to all our viewers for joining us today. Want to thank Shelby Dumaine, our social media specialist, Paul Dufio on the production team, and actually Wei-Han Lin. Happy birthday to him. He's on our production team as well. Matt Jennings was our guest today, product line director for Drill Bits, and I'm Michael Gaines. So on behalf of all of us at NOV, thanks for watching and for listening. We'll talk to you again next time.